quick little last-minute post, share a story.
And there we go.
That's cool.
We're actually live now. Yeah.
We are live now. That's fantastic. Cool.
We think so. We never know. It gives us a couple of minutes to work out whether anyone can see us or not.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I see people. Cool. James is here. Jim, Al. That's fantastic. Cool.
It's a chat with friends.
Good people. Exactly. That's what it's all about.
Like, there's some good people, and Al's here as well.
Yep. Just had to mute the stream on YouTube because it's super weird to hear yourself.
Feedback.
It is, yeah. They do that as a bit of a training for people learning to do like professional speaking and things.
Really?
They pump your own voice back like a second or two later, just so you can get over that kind of thing. It's torture.
It's a very odd thing to do.
Yeah, random nugget of information at the start of the podcast.
Yeah. And that's the bonus that the people who watch live get over the people who will listen to the audio podcast later in the week. Because I'll edit that bit out. You've got to give the live audience something to tune in for, haven't we?
Yeah, that can be on the OnlyFans and Patreon.
Yeah. Yes.
OnlyFans, yeah.
Well, Patreon's growing.
That's true.
Yeah. We have 3 now.
That's crazy. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, considering we don't have any reward
We haven't shared the link
yet. That's doing good. So we've got a few people in. Before we get started, we got in, just to give a shout out to those that are watching live. So Al was up first.
Yay, Duncan is here.
JP. James, Jim, Daniel.
James Milton, that's my old mate from work.
We've got JP and Caveman Carl.
I hope he's happily renaming files a lot.
Well, he doesn't work for us anymore, but he's working for someone else. He's missing out on all the fun.
We've got Duncan and we've got Bears at Woodshop, which will be from been grabbing my attention this week. I'll talk a bit more about that later.
That's for later on in the podcast, Andy.
Yeah, exactly. Right, so let's have a second for... And we'll start. So, good evening and welcome. If you're listening some other time, good morning or good afternoon, whatever time it is you're listening. I'll pay Rick later for...
the copyright or
abusing his introductions.
Royalties, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, we'll come back to that. I'll give him a Welsh cake and make a central if he's there. I'm sure that'll cover
That's
it for
straight overpayment.
A bit of time.
Yeah.
So, good evening. Welcome to episode 3 of Makers Waffle with myself, Andy Pugh, and my good friend Jamie Reeder.
Hello.
And tonight we have a guest, our first international guest, our second guest, our first international guest. Obviously, Chris was our first international guest if you're listening from another country other than the UK. But, our first international guest for us. And that's our very good friend, Kjell Otto.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's kind of funny to be the international guest because it's... I don't really feel there's a difference between like me being in Germany and you being in the UK, except this damn time difference, but that's feels very close to home.
The ease of travel, particularly after the thing we won't mention. Yeah. I think I'm possibly. No, I think Jamie, because you're in northwest Germany, aren't you? So you're not far from kind of Holland, the Netherlands.
What I am?
You. Yes.
Yeah. I'm in northern Germany. Yeah. I was thinking
you're looking at Kjell, but you said Jamie.
Yeah, exactly.
I
was thinking, well, do you?
No, I was thinking, yeah. My brain works randomly. I was thinking how close I am to Jamie and how close I am to Kjell, kind of in terms of travel.
I mean, you are actually in France.
Basically, being in kind of northern France above the channel. For those who don't know, I am in the kind of sort of the southeast of the UK. I think the people around about, or certainly the people in the chat, I think only JP is closer to France than I am. He's within spitting distance.
you're living kind of near the Eurotunnel, right?
I am. I'm 11. No. I think I'm about 12, maybe 14 miles from the Eurotunnel.
Yeah.
So it would depending on whether I stick to the speed limit or not, it would take, and depending on traffic, it would take me anywhere from no traffic and not sticking to the speed limit. It's probably 10 minutes.
Cool.
No traffic, sticking to the speed limit, it's probably closer to 20. With traffic, as normally is, it's probably about half an hour. Yeah. Probably about 15 to 20 minutes on average. I think it would probably take me, assuming there's not the school time traffic or rush hour traffic.
It depends whether you're trying to rack up points from the pedestrians on the way, and for anyone who's seen Death Race 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was wanting to visit you when we were last time visiting Scotland, but we had to rush up there. Hopefully next time. I myself, I'm living in Hamburg, Germany, one of the biggest cities to the north, and it's at the Elbe. So we have an actual in-city beach, which is really kind of nice.
Interesting.
Yeah, I really like the city, although I'm trying to at least halfway move out to the countryside.
I do want to sort of say a bit more. I mean, this is just as people who have listened so far know that our intention is for this podcast to be kind of a chat rather than interview. Yeah, it's us waffling. It's friends together having a waffle on a Sunday evening, and other friends listening in live, and hopefully other friends listening in later in the week. And that's the kind of the intent. So, you're throwing us a hook there that we can't.
Yeah, well, I guess it's super hard because I think I've been excited about going to look for properties at least a year now, and I've let you guys take part on my search, maybe a bit too often, but
no,
I've enjoyed it. You've never been a burden. It's always been fun to
it's just always been so sad if it didn't work out. But now it worked out, right? So that's the cool part. We found
the bit we're sort of hinting at is that you've managed to finally find a property that you have fallen in love with.
Yes, that is the case. Exactly. And we're currently waiting on the last bits of paperwork to be done. And the owners that are like the nicest people on earth, really. It was just the perfect fit. And we went there for the first time, look at the property with the whole family, and we were greeted by the owners and not only the real estate agent, which was really nice. So and from then on, it just everything fell into place pretty much. And now we're waiting for the last bits and pieces. We already have been to the notary appointment, and now we're looking forward to move in. Really, it's a big one.
It's a beautiful space, though.
Yeah, it's got a lot of space. It's got a lot of buildings. It's got 1,001 projects to be done, and a workshop of a lifetime to build. And
so is this like a general open invite then for all of our friends in the chat who want to come and help build a workshop with you? And
that is definitely an open invite. The funny part is we currently have one guest room, so to say, but there's still, I mean, if people would be willing to sleep on mattresses on the floor, we could house probably 200 makers now. It's no problem. Let's go. It's a very big
benefit of the audience. Yeah, just for the benefit of the audience, Jamie and I have both seen photographs and video of this property.
Yes,
and Kjell is not exaggerating.
Yeah,
in the least.
It is.
Yeah, it's a very big property. Rald is also here. Oh, cool, Daniel. Fun. I gotta
got some more people
switch tab again. Otherwise, I'll always read the chat. I hope you guys are looking into the chat.
You know what I'm like? I've got everything on all the screens anyway, so I can see it all going up.
Cool.
Yeah, for those who don't know Jamie, again for the audience, Jamie operates with 7 screens.
Yeah, there's 7-ish on the desk at the minute. There or thereabouts.
So that's part of being a kind of an IT professional, or a professional in IT, amongst other sort of things. Yes.
Total nerd.
I want to pull on something actually that Jamie mentioned there, and I've got the right person this time, and actually kind of pulling into something that came from the interview you did with Justin White, the Garage Avenger, on his podcast, Make Ideas Reality.
Yeah.
Because he described you in that as the godfather of making. Or certainly the European godfather of making. And there was kind of sort of analogies drawn with Jimmy DiResta. And it's surprising. I think a large number of people will know of your involvement in things like Maker Central and the Maker Fairs in Europe. And you've been a key player in sort of the maker movement, the maker community, for quite a few years now. And you're one of those people that you're always there, and you're kind of Maker Central. People will possibly remember you running around like a madman at times, trying to get things sorted out. And you pull together a large number of people. In a way, not dissimilar to Jimmy. You have a wide range of maker interests, from wood and metal, and now you have a property with workshops that I think Jimmy would not be, looking at going, that's small. He'd be looking at it going, yep, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
I'm looking forward to that one. Yeah. I think the funniest part of the whole interview with Justin was that exactly this analogy. I'm not really sure about whether that makes too much sense for me. I kind of can see why it would make sense to make that call, but I'm just trying to connect people. I guess that's my main goal, so to say, in the involvement and be as inclusive as possible.
I'm glad you picked up on that about yourself, because that was an observation that I've had about you. Is you're very, very good at learning about a person and learning about how a person thinks and how they interact with the world, and kind of storing that away, and then as and when another person needs something that would fit, you're very good at then kind of connecting people together and kind of piecing those sort of puzzle pieces together to connect people and unite skills
That's
together.
So much fun. Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those sort of things that you're very, very, very good at.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think the greatest part about putting so to say 2 people that are missing pieces together is always that if you introduce 2 persons to one another that will have a beneficial, so to say, first interaction on knowledge or help on a specific topic or whatever, it always feels like you gave this initial spark to whatever will come next, right? And I really, really like that. To just say, hey, well, that guy would know how to do this. Ask that person, and tell them I sent you. It's the best thing ever.
Absolutely, like you say, they seeing those kind of little sparks of friendship that develop out of that, or even those, even just the projects that develop out of it. Things. Because I think that's something that Andy and I both enjoy doing as well. So it's
absolutely
the 3 of us get on so well.
Exactly. I think the 3 of us get on really well. Just a quick question from the live chat. Jamie Page wants to know whether he needs to get a Kjell Otto tattoo.
I'm baffled as to why you haven't already done it, Jamie.
It depends on what you want to put as the tattoo, JP. Make it something that's not with regards to me, then it's perfectly fine. You just need to like it. I guess that's a really odd thing.
Rumor has it you will have a bit of a logo coming out soon, though, Kjell. Finally.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I do have the best draft ever, and I think I just want to follow through with it. It's from my dear friend Daniel. I started the Makers Magnet with. I
He's
don't know
in the chat watching as well.
Hey man, we haven't talked in too long of a time, but he made it this one. I really like the simplicity of it. I finally need to figure out the sticker thing and all that jazz, and but I think I wasn't ever that close to having a really nice one, and I just need to follow through with it. But I keep on failing the last bits where you can have actually something, not only this here, but made to give out to others. I would love to, yeah.
I was benefit to the audio listeners later in the week. Kjell was showing up a.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Looks like a K in a circle, so it looks a bit like almost like a brand. You sort of thing you'd expect to see maybe on a
a bit like a
That's
brand.
what it kind of reminds me of.
Well, it's a K and an O for a Kjell and an Otto.
Yes, Kjell and Otto, yes.
Yeah, and
so I think it's
kind of like
nice
that you
clean...
can turn it at the non-center point of the K, and it's geometrically nice and not too symmetric, and I don't know. I love it. Daniel, you're the man. He really knows his shit. If you've seen what he can do with digital art and like with a pencil, his dotted drawings, holy smokes. I couldn't. So I'm even more thankful for this draft. I think I'm going to follow through with it.
Excellent.
Good. It's about time.
That's good to hear. Now, I actually want to go back on to something that you again discussed on Justin's podcast, because you did talk about your history, and I will link for later in the week. I'll link Justin's podcast and your episode into the description so people can follow it. And you talked about kind of your almost a bit of your history, the fact that your mother was a woodwork teacher, and obviously you picked up a lot from that. And then after kind of maybe not doing so much yourself as sort of a teenager and young man, going through kind of your computer science studies, you then became involved in the maker movement almost quite quickly in a way, and particularly involved with things like the sort of the maker fairs in Germany. And I believe you became involved in Maker Central after involvement from the Maker Fairs. After a recommendation by Giacomo to Nick Zametti.
Exactly.
I'd just love to hear a bit more about that section there, kind of prior to Maker Central, the involvement in the maker community in Germany and how that's developed. Because I think I know a little bit about it, but I think it's a good reflection of how communities grow.
Yeah, it was kind of. I don't know how many coincidences can happen in one row to make this happen, but there were quite a lot. I wanted to do the first handcraft kind of thing since I didn't do anything anymore since my skater days from my teenage years. So I went to this open shop, and then I found this concept very interesting because you could be loud and you could build things in the middle of the city. That's where I started woodworking again. Then I built this whiskey board there, and I got into craft as well again, and from then I was looking more and more in social media about how people do things and what they do, and I found the first videos of Jimmy, and quite fast after that I found a lady that were actually putting in great projects and really cool made stuff as a maker, but with a level of videography that made the videos of her nearly short films, really. They were just on another level. Pretty much all other videos were mostly time lapse or kind of just not as crazy cool, with good cuts and nice angles, camera angles, and really fitting music and all that thing. And that lady is my dear friend Laura Kampf.
I was going to say we didn't even need the name there. That description was perfect enough.
Because it was very different what she was showing.
She absolutely broke the mold, didn't she? It kind of revolutionized the maker video sort of industry.
Absolutely, yeah. And she put the bar way up. Holy crap. Yeah, and I was just doing my stuff, and I kind of like, in my head, she was just kind of like a celebrity or something, because I never met a person that combined all those skills. And I reached out to her at one point over Twitter, I think. I don't think she's using her Twitter that much anymore. Neither do I, but she was going to the same festival I was going. And when I went there, I saw that she was in need of a spirit level, because she forgot it, and she was building the tiki bar tent kind of thing on the festival grounds. So I just, before we started moving, I just put that in my truck with the friends, and too much alcohol. We drove there, and I got really hammered, and then I thought, well, now is a very good time to bring that to her. So yeah, I think I had a cap on with a propeller on top. I was completely smashed, and she was happily giving me another beer. So that's how our friendship started, pretty much.
That's how good friendships start, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, the year after, was it the year after, the one after that one? I don't know. But then her friends couldn't come, and she was, so to say, alone on the campgrounds, if you want. And we just partied really hard together and had a wonderful festival experience. And we were talking about the maker community a lot, and what she would like to see more of, and where she saw opportunities to bring people better together. Because I was asking her how she would do it, because she already had a quite good followership. Back in the day, 50K subscribers was a lot. And
it still is.
Yeah, it still is, right? But the numbers of the original, so to say, YouTube makers are now, let's say, offset a bit.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, hey, how about we do something like panel talks? I've seen your vlog on the New York Maker Fair. They did a panel talk, and maybe we should do that on the one we're going to next as well, in Hanover, maybe. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And then I was like, oh fuck, now I got to do it, right? Okay.
So
and that's how it came
along.
It's
entirely Laura's fault.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm just blaming her. Yeah. No, and then I contacted makers I really liked watching, pretty much. I think my initial contact to G, maybe you can chime in on this, was, hey, would you like to be part of a panel talk? And we talked a lot about whether it would be a good idea, and whether I think initially we talked about whether his English would have been good enough or not. And Alex took you, and now it's, I think, Fragments made.
Yeah.
Fragment
Alex is awesome. I've got a couple.
Yeah, Alex is wonderful. Then we had Lucas Jenny, now with the Jenny truck. And yeah, a lot of people I still know and really like and enjoy talking to. That was when we did this. And also Christiana from Get Hands Dirty, and Jacko whatever. And they just all said, well, okay,
all those
sure,
names
let's
that
go.
You're saying, though, they're all equally wonderful humans as well.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. And that's the funny part. I mean, them coming to the Maker Faire in Hanover was like, okay, let's have a reason for this, right? This is the panel talk. And I tried to get everybody in without needing to buy a ticket and all that. But of course, they couldn't pay for like flights to Hanover and like the accommodation and everything. So they just covered that on their end, which I still appreciate a ton, because it's, I mean, flying to another country out and just go to a Maker Faire just. But then we had this panel talk. I think it was 1 hour on 2 days, and that was all of the official part, right? And the rest of the time we just hang out and chatted a ton and tried to get everybody into the circles we were making up everywhere we were hanging out at. And yeah, then there was this Maker Central thing where all of a sudden a random Nick Zametti wrote me over Facebook, "Hey, Jacko said you should do the stage."
But I mean, that was my sort of first interaction with you, I think, or my first kind of memorable interaction in person, because I hadn't seen any of your like videos or anything like that. You were just kind of this sort of like entity that was connected to all these big events. You were this sort of celebrity I hadn't heard of yet. You know, it's this sort of.
I guess I'm just not a celebrity.
But this is the thing. It was like, to me, it's like, oh, who's this Kjell that everyone keeps talking about, and I keep seeing his face everywhere on all these, you know, like the Maker Fairs and things like that. I thought you were some, you know, YouTube or celebrity, you know, introducer or presenter or something like that. And then we just sort of like bumped into each other at Maker Central, and you're like, "Oh, Jamie," and I'm like, "How the hell do you know who I am?"
Yeah, I remember that. I think I don't know what it was. I think you wrote some comments in the Fools with Tools group, and I was reading what you were waffling about, I guess. And yeah, your name stuck.
Changed.
Guilty. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I really like having people around that seem to be. I mean, it's kind of funny, right? Because most of the people that are liking to make stuff, it's normally not that you do it together with another person, right? So you're in your creativity, in your making, you're normally pretty alone if you want. Not even intentionally, but anyways, out of the reason you're doing something, right? You can't operate a table saw together or I don't know.
Yeah. Like you say, it tends to be a bit of a personal journey, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Well, I suppose
yes.
You know, to steal from another podcast, this segues beautifully into talking about another sort of collaborative project you're involved in with Laura and most of the people in the chat, is the 10 Makers.
Yeah.
You know, where that was a complete, like the opposite of that, of then being a very, very collaborative making experience, I suppose.
That was really, it was a fantastic experience. And I still do think Haikoki was just the best sponsor for this. They really did an awesome job of making sure that the event could happen. So maybe for the listeners that don't know about 10 Makers.
I was just going to say, there may be some people who haven't heard of
so
collaboration.
Me and Andy both just ready to pounce on that one.
Yeah, sorry.
Please
so
explain,
the 10 Makers was an event we had at Laura's place when she was just in the process of moving out of her shop she had in Cologne City, where she had the tiny house and the really cool workshop hall thing, and she had to move out. Landlord reasons. Let's not get into details, but anyways, she got to move out, and we had to clear the space. This wonderful multi-level, ultra cool space. Yeah, it was so cool. And she was combining that move out with, hey, let's have a few people that also do YouTube and also have an interest in making and are makers I know of. She invited them to come to her place, the new shop where she moved to, and build stuff that would then make a video series. And this 10 Makers video series was really with Brad and Jesse and
Steve, Alan, Seb.
Yeah, exactly. Steve, Al, Zeb. I was there.
Hassan was there. Yeah.
Hassan was there, and at that time I knew Hassan a lot as well, and it was just so fantastic because it was like going to camping, but you're not camping in the woods. You're just building stuff, right? And this was
hanging out
so
with friends
good.
and making things.
Exactly, yeah. And Ellen was building like the big, really big table and bank thing, and then
wasn't that her first woodworking project as well?
Exactly.
For someone to go, I think I might try this woodworking thing. Let's make a massive outdoor dining table for
freaking massive,
for like 12 people to sit around.
Exactly, yeah. It was so cool because we were doing just the most fun things ever. And
I was gonna say I was quite jealous to see kind of what was happening, kind of watching Instagram as well.
Absolutely,
you guys were having loads of fun.
And I wasn't even doing a video, right? I just told her, "Hey, I'll come by. I want to join in and maybe do a bit of behind the scenes and help getting groceries." I did the internet at her new place, a bit different than I expected, but at the end it worked out fine. And yeah, we just hung out. It was really fun. I would like to do something like that at my place at one point as well.
That'd be awesome.
Sounds good. I'll bring Welsh cakes.
I'll bring the beard.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Also very important.
Well, I suppose this does bring a good question. If we were going to bring things over, the obvious guest for me, or not the obvious guest, the obvious sort of gift to bring as a guest would be peanut butter. So the question is, would I bring crunchy or smooth? Which is going to get me kicked out?
I know that you know the answer to this, but I'll say it 1 million times, no problem. It's got to be crunchy, man. I was very sad. I think the last time we were talking about peanut butter and I had to stir up a new cup.
You did.
So also, for the listeners that don't know me very well, I'm ordering peanut butter in 1 kilo jugs, and they are like a little actual bucket, so to say. And
can I just sort of like add to that? It's not that Kjell is ordering them in 1 kilo tubs. It's that the units they come in are 1 kilo tubs. He's ordering them by the boxes of 1 kilo tubs.
Yeah, exactly. I think I only have 5 kilos left now. It's right there below my couch.
That is like, most humans are fueled on like food and things, but Kjell just basically takes, instead of like swapping batteries, it's just like a unit of peanut butter. It's the thing that fuels him.
Yeah, but they changed the recipe somehow. It's not as crunchy anymore. It's easier to stir, and that's not a good. It wasn't a good. I was very sad when I discovered they changed it.
There have been a few questions in the chat, actually.
There have been.
There have been a few questions in the chat. Going back a little while, there was one from our friend Gerald, the Redsmith. He says he's known you for a long time, and he's never ever seen you angry, ever. Is there something that makes you angry? Is there something that really makes you angry?
Changing the recipe for peanut butter made him pretty angry.
Yeah, getting close.
That was really getting close. I absolutely. I can be a real bitch. I really can be. Ask my wife. I think what really like grinds my gears is that if there's like an unfair, so to say, not warranted, nasty thing that happens to someone or happens to me or someone I really like and hold close to me, that's when I can really, let's say, be quite the asshole, I guess.
I think that's something that hits quite a few of us, especially those of us who are all friends in the maker community. If there's any sort of injustice, we all tend to kind of pounce, I think, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there was one guy at Maker Central that was way too drunk, and I think it was pretty much Cliff. Cliff was pretty much the only reason why I didn't punch him in the face. He really did a good job on de-escalating that one. Yeah, we were sitting around there, and there was one guy that was just way too drunk and was really getting too close to people that were not liking it, and they were like, "Hey, please, could you stand back a bit?" and blah blah blah, and this and that, and then he just, I don't know, one of the management guys said, "Well, how about you go to bed now? The bar's closed for you anyways now." And he was starting to argue with him, and at one point it was like click, and he was like, "Oh, racism, blah blah blah," and just an idiot, right? Too drunk, and yeah. In this kind of situations, I can get kind of angry. Yeah.
I think that's justified, though, isn't it? It's a normal sort of human response to that kind of thing.
I would like to give that question back. I've also never seen you angry, G.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, that's one for when we get him on.
Yes, I think we can probably all agree that if Red Smith was to become angry, I think there would be international repercussions of a cataclysmic scale.
Yeah,
I think we'd all generally want to hide from that.
Although, I mean, I suppose it's a story for when we get him on, but he's a lot lighter than he seems. I'll just leave that one there.
Yes.
Oh, I need to switch tabs again. I was looking at the chat. That's not good. I have such a hard time concentrating and being part of a discussion or a chat and then looking at that.
I think because it's all familiar faces.
What makes you mad, Jamie? That's a good question. Like, is there something where you would really say?
I think it's very similar. It's something unjust to to people you care about, or people in general. I suppose someone being unjust to people tends to get me riled up. Steve's saying being hungry, and I do occasionally get a bit hangry.
Guilty.
Yeah, but I think I've sort of got to a point now where there's not much that really gets me too angry. Yeah, mild frustration at various bits of silliness, but other than that, Yeah,
I mean, also
sorry, in the chat, my mate James saying when it's stupid questions from James. Not just you, mate. Happens all the time.
I mean, I do have something that's called IT Tourette, right? So if the computer's acting up, and of course I'm the stupid guy, that I find it just really unjust that it's not doing what I want. That gets me mad a lot. And
especially given the fact that IT is your profession.
Yeah, that's. I think I can't get through the first half of the day in my job without having like a Peggy 18 label on it. No way.
Well, I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? Because again, I suppose for those who don't know, your day job is as a software developer.
Yeah.
And as we both know from being in the IT world, it's quite often most problems can be sort of solved with expletives, restarts, checking the DNS. All these kind of like a standard checklist, and expletives are in there at least 3 or 4 times in that list of things. Whatever the problem, you just pick a number.
Sorting out the problem that exists between the chair and the keyboard.
Pepcac, the problem exists between chair and computer.
Yeah,
perhaps we should steer away from that as a topic. This could get Makers Waffle a bad name for. Yeah.
Could well be.
It's kind of funny, though. I would like to touch on another topic that I hope maybe get. I think, Jamie, you've like dipped your toe in it already. I don't know how far you got, Andy, but I think it's a funny coincidence that we all tend to craft stuff, right, and do stuff with material things, and that's my escape of the digital world and what I do for a living. But also on that end, you can do pretty much the same thing. You can build things with a completely cost-free material if you want, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
You can call it compute power or whatnot. What the computer does is not the thing that matters, but you can teach the computer to do things you want it to do, and that to me that also has a very part of creativity, and there's also the maker tricks to it, right? It's kind of funny because I don't know if you want from the corners of a thing have every time same distance holes, you can just use the washer and like pinch it with your fingers on the corner and put dots, right? That stuff. These things, these tricks, or the tricks Jimmy shows or Laura shows, these tricks exist in programming as well, and IT in general. And it's kind of funny because there are so many parallels there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing. Is like you say, the creative problem solving, whether it's a bit of automation code to do repetitive tasks or things like that. I mean, obviously, the kind of thing that I've been hounding you for recently, even just like my own frustrations at work of having hundreds of files to rename. And us having a couple of hours of, working through the problem and you teaching me some code that we could then solve that problem. Like, that is straight away kind of improved my quality of life, in my day job.
Yeah.
And has given me that kind of like, fire under me to kind of do a bit more and learn a bit more and kind of see what else can be done. I mean, obviously I do a lot of that kind of stuff anyway, but in other areas, like in the CAD side and things like that. But to then be able to sort of automate my life a little bit more is, like I say, it's creative problem solving. It's a completely different aspect. It's still making something, and you can get some little, Arduinos or little off-the-shelf components or things like that, and then it's a fun maker problem. But it's still kind of connected to my day job a little bit. But
yeah,
it's a fun thing to do with the skills that I use professionally.
But this is something that I mean, as you both know, I kind of like to tease into things. I think most people that know me know that I like to kind of sort of think about things and tease into things, and creativity is one of those. And there's many definitions of creativity, and I think partially depends maybe just on how one's been brought up as a maker, not necessarily as a child, but as brought into sort of the making world, whether that's a one medium, you're a woodworker or a painter, or whether it's kind of the multiple mediums that certainly the three of us employ. And it's often about solving problems. And I think one of the most marvelous things about creativity and making and within the sort of the maker community is that it really extols the fact that creativity is not something you can use up. The more creative things you do, the more creative you become, and the more ways you can apply creativity in different areas. And I think, to me, that this is kind of one of the most amazing things of creativity. And I think back to kind of almost my teaching career, and think how creativity. I mean, I don't want to go down into kind of full kind of edu speak and things like that, but there is that element of within the highest skill levels are kind of the synthesis, the creative skills, and they're only supposedly seen at kind of higher levels, not necessarily kind of academic levels of age, but within any particular year group, for example. But I mean, I think that's wrong. I think we don't necessarily push the creativity as much as we should, and I think it's a shame that often due to budget cuts, things like the technology programs in schools, whether it's woodworking or whether it's computing, often get kind of pushed to the side.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually having
to save money.
This same discussion with my sister-in-law today, who's she's a teacher, a primary school teacher, and she's looking to leave that, and it's pretty much for that reason. She wants to be able to explore the education with the kids. When they've got questions and So, miss, why does this happen? Why does that happen? And there isn't the time or the resources now to be able to do that. And it seems to be a struggle to like you say, to explore those options with the kids, to whether it's budget cuts or time or curriculum or anything. It seems to be a really difficult thing to get that sort of education across. I suppose that's where like you two, especially with sort of what you do, being able to kind of like encourage people and pass on skills and things, it's completely invaluable.
I think it's kind of funny that if you think about accessibility of knowledge, that was like a real, so to say, problem 50 years from now, right? 50 years ago. And the currently I think there are only a few things you could only learn going to a very specific professor on a specific university. And it wouldn't even help to go to a university that has the curriculum for a specific topic, because only that professor is on this very far end of what we know as humans. But other than that, you can learn everything right now, right? If you take the time and start with the basics, and there are so many people that say, I can't do math. That's wrong. You never got the proper telling of how basics work. That's why you couldn't build on top of it, and that's why you don't understand higher mathematics. That's the only reason for this.
I think with things like that, though, a lot of the time you just need the right teacher, and I think that's something where things like YouTube and and things like that, we all know that lots of our friends have all done exactly the same sort of project or passed on the same sort of skills. But it means that you could have a look at Jimmy using the table saw to cut something, and then you could have a look at Izzy using the table saw to cut something, and then you could have a look at Laura using the table saw to cut something, have a look at April Wilkerson using the table saw to cut something, and whichever one of those fits your personality best, they're all going to teach you the same set of skills, but in their own way. And I think there's for everything you want to learn, like you say, you've got that opportunity to then, we've all got one of these in our pocket, mobile phone, access to the internet, YouTube. There's a million different offer codes for Skillshare and LinkedIn Learning and all the rest. Even just for a month to be able to jump in and pick up a few skills or brush up on something.
If I'd ever have a kid, honestly, I would put it on the earliest possible point in time on a KiwiCo subscription. I think that's the greatest company.
Khan Academy, things like
that's the greatest company selling kids' toys that freaking exists. It's crazy cool.
Yeah. My kids, I've got a subscription to it. I think it seems like a fun thing to do every month.
It's adult toys that kids can have.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, it's what I like so much about this whole accessibility of knowledge is that if you find interest in something that's not taught in school, right, you can just jump on it and you can really freak on it, go crazy deep. A few of the brightest programmers I know didn't do it by a normal school curriculum, and they are next level. That's really not something you would learn at a university. So once again, I think it's kind of sad that the educational system never anywhere really drastically changed and adapted to accessibility of knowledge. We still do all the same bullshit nobody remembers for more than half a year. After you have your exams, you're allowed to forget it, right?
Well, I think sort of as Andy was touching on before, the sort of the more you are creative, the more creative you sort of become, or you get used to being creative in things and become more creative, and you sort of always add into your sort of pot of creativity almost. You build an experience and things like that, transferable knowledge. I solved this problem this way, maybe I can apply that same thing to this. And something with the programmers you're saying about that, perhaps because they came to it from a different angle, they might have different experience in creative problem solving that's allowed them to look at something from a different perspective, other than having a classroom setting. Here's how you do X, Y, and Z in a program. They might have that different avenue, that different perspective. But I mean, again, that's something that we've seen with our friends in the chat. Some of the background knowledge that they've got and how they've then applied their experience in other things to particular problems that
absolutely
other people would solve in different ways.
Yeah.
Multiple ways to skin a cat, as they say.
Yeah.
This is the kind of sort of thing Caro would do.
Wow.
So she'd have made the cat
Caro's
15
crazy.
feet tall. Yeah.
Caro is really crazy. I have no clue how the heck you can do all these things. It's really fascinating to me. Like sheer size, sheer detail, both at once. Insane. Crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we're hopefully going to have Caro on at some point to just basically gush over all the projects she does and
tell me when you asked her, so I can poke her as well. Do it.
Got another question from the chat.
The glue box.
This is from Andy, who goes by Gluebox on obviously YouTube and Instagram, who is 1/3 of the Crosscut podcast.
Oh, cool.
And he's asking, do we think education stifles creativity due to educational structure, and does this then impact later life? I mean, the first thing I would say is this could be an entire hour's chat in itself.
It's a good reason to have him on, have the discussion.
Yeah.
Have that as a podcast in itself.
I think I think it's not. Let's put it this way. I don't think it's the purpose of the education system is to do like everything, right? It's got to be enough of everything so that you can afterwards like have seen enough of it to know you're interested in it or not.
It's like a primer, isn't it? Like an introduction to
exactly
life.
Yeah, 101, right? Exactly. And of course it could have been more, but on the other hand, what would you have left out?
And that's always the kind of the $1 million question.
Exactly, yeah.
In any curriculum debate. Yeah, that there is a limited amount of time. Whether that's on a school-wide level or whether that's on a national level debate. What is left out? And every subject specialist kind of thinks, yes, but there should be more of my subject.
Exactly, yeah.
I've never yet met somebody who goes kind of, actually, it'd be all right if there was less of my subject. It doesn't matter that much.
I think one of the best gifts I had as a student was having a teacher say, I think it was my chemistry teacher at college, and he sort of said, right, okay, this is what I'm teaching you for the exam, but that is not strictly true. This is the information you need to pass the exam. However, here is the actual information. For those of you who want to take the subject further, for those of you who want to learn more about it or just understand properly, here's the non-abridged version of the answer. Here's the background to the question. Here's the why this is different. And it was understanding that, hang on, maybe everything that you are taught at school or at college or at university is, obviously the bubble gets smaller the more you specialize in a subject. But to have that kind of, not just imparting the knowledge of the subject or the answer to the question, but to say, this isn't the complete answer, but it's enough you need for it's enough for now, and you can find more. And I think a lot of kids tend to get kind of stuck in their head that what they learn at school or college or in education is the only way, as opposed to it being, here's one way to do something, here's one bit of information that you can then build on or take a step forward from.
And that's sometimes about how it's presented. Yeah, as Ian in the shed sort of said, some of it depends on your teacher.
Absolutely.
Some teachers make the subject come alive, others make you dread going to class. And I think there's a
physics teacher I would have absolutely loved to have had at college, and it's that bloke sat there.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's. I want to be careful. Because I could get started on this, and then not kind of.
We're nearly an hour in.
And yeah, I'm aware that we're already 55 minutes in, and we haven't sort of thought about our attention. But I think that's so important. And some of that is controlled by things like the exam boards, as mentioned. I mean, the classic example from a physics point of view is the colours of the spectrum, or the colours of the rainbow, as people would often say. Yeah, the kind of the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Roy G. Biv or Richard of York gave battle in vain. Those are the kind of way that a lot of people learn how to do it. What most people don't really appreciate is that there are only 6, not 7. And even the exam boards will kind of go, yeah, it's 7, but they don't, because it's not really a GCSE level question. But yeah, pretty much every textbook will still have Roy G. Biv, and it's Mr. Newton was a bit of a fraud on some things, but that's a story for another time. I think last question. I think from the audience for Kjell till we get onto our attention, maybe just quickly, and it's from JP again, who describes it as an IDP question. So linking back to kind of Makers International, he asks, "Have you ever made a tool? What was it, and why did you make it rather than buy it?"
What did I make as a tool? Well, I think one of the things that come to mind immediately was a blacksmithing tongue, and I think the reason I made it is because it's a thing you can do with a bit of guidance, right? It's not really easy, not at all. I didn't do one yet that it was only me without anybody around that could help and have a look. But the one I did was exactly for that purpose. I wanted to learn the techniques, and I think that's oftentimes a good idea to excuse not buying it, because if you're honest, buying a tool that you just need for using it and you don't see any value in building it, it's always going to be cheaper to just buy it. I don't think there's a single tool you shouldn't buy if you only look for time to money or ratio. And I think
to confirm that with these the tongues that you made, were these made in the forge that you also made?
That's a good question. In this case, no. No, that's not. That was also something. That's another good reason to not buy. It can be irresponsibly expensive, right? I mean, if you look at Hassan, what he builds because he just wants to have things and not buy them because he thinks it's ridiculously expensive, he just built a blacksmithing press. And as you do, right? And the amount of money he put in is like a fraction of a bought one. And he just has the skill set already to do the things that are needed to build it, so he just built it.
It can go one way or the other, though, can't it? You know, you end up, or you can end up buying materials and then more tools, and then you end up spending 2 or 3 times the amount just to be able to make the thing. And you can go, I made this one, but I have to buy all this to be able to make it. But I can make it now.
That's a very good excuse to have the tools, and then next time you don't need to buy them. So you can say, well, the next tool, that was super cheap. I mean, no biggie.
And you can make it again. Yeah,
exactly, yes.
Well, make them for your friends.
I hope that was a fitting answer. I also made a blade, but didn't get to make the handle yet. And I'm thinking, yet. And I'm thinking, like, some things are just lame to buy. Like in this case, I would like to go to camping with it in the end. So buying a camping knife, there is a very good camping knife you can buy for, I think, €13, and it's indestructible, and it's the thing you should buy. But I hate it. It looks so bad. It looks so cheap, and it's really the right thing to do. It's cheap and it's indestructible. That thing you can like pry on doors with, and it won't break, and it's crazy. But it's freaking ugly.
But yeah, I mean, I know exactly what the one you're talking about, and like you said, it is the thing that everyone gets it and goes, "Yeah, it works. I want a better one."
Yeah. Or you want a better one, exactly. Yeah.
I suppose, as you mentioned, Andy, should we talk about our attention spans?
Yes, I think I'd like to jump in first, actually, because that last comment was a nice segue into some of the things that one of the things that has grabbed my attention this week, and I'll jump straight onto that one. And that's Phil Jarrett from Phil Makes Things on both Instagram and YouTube has just launched a mod and Opinel challenge. So it's to take an Opinel knife, ideally a number 8. That doesn't have to be, but that's the kind of recommendation, and modify it in some way. And so submit photographs on Instagram. There we go. So you've got your number 8.
Earlier.
Yep. So thinking about how to modify that. Take some photographs, before photographs and after photographs, and by September the 1st, publish those out onto Instagram, or make a video and just let Phil know that you've done that. And there's he and Tim Greenwood from Turgot Works are going to judge that, and somebody's going to win a book, and obviously huge amounts of glory.
Very nice.
So worth taking part in if you want to do a little bit of knife work. Good knives.
Modern.
Yes. Other couple of things that have had my attention this week. Been a not very good week this week for making at home. A few people know, but I won't go into details. But I had a night away from home. Nothing, it wasn't me per se, but one of my kids. And that kind of it's been a long week. I'll just leave it at that. But a couple of things have caught my eye. Another friend of mine, Justin, from Bear Makes YouTube channel and also Instagram, has been doing some fascinating work with cricket works. Now, not cricket the sport, but cricket the kind of vinyl cutters. They recently released a mug press. The idea is it's to print sublimation on mugs or things like that. So you kind of taking a plain mug and decorating it. And he's been using it to do some experiments, good Mythbuster style. I'm a big fan of Mythbusters, and things like cooking in it. So he's got
shout out to Tyler Bell. Mythbusters, yes, I won't remember without Tyler Bell anymore. He's the man.
He's been doing some fascinating things and annoying the cricket Facebook groups. I think he's been, I'm not sure he's been kicked off any yet, but he's certainly been not allowed to post his videos about some of the things that he's been doing. And the third thing from me, I've been doing a bit of catch up. Just recently had a new phone, and so kind of in doing that, all my podcasts kind of unfortunately got wiped off. So I had to kind of rebuild my podcast list. Which I'm kind of steadily doing, rather than doing kind of, I had kept a list, but the subscriptions didn't tide over. So I've been trying to kind of catch up with some of those. And the one I've been catching up with this week is the Crosscut podcast, which is Andy and Bear. You can find them on Instagram and obviously on podcast providers. It's a woodworking British woodworking podcast, and it's in some ways it's like this. It's some friends having a good old chat and waffle about for their particular situation, woodworking, and it's nice to hear kind of the insides of people using woodworking for production, and also just having a nice chat. It's the sort of podcast I just can listen to for hours. They're quite lengthy episodes. They're kind of hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. Some of them, even close to 2 hours. But if you operate at 1.7 times speed, it certainly doesn't feel anywhere near as long. So yeah, definitely want to go out for, and hopefully we'll maybe do a bit of have a chat earlier with Bear about possibly doing a kind of swapsy interview type thing. So we'll have them on and they'll have us on, and we can kind of have a sort of chat about that way. How about guest next? Yeah, how about guest next? Kjell, what's had your attention?
So lately, one guy in particular caught my attention. I don't know how to speak, how to pronounce his last name, but it's Felix Schellhasse. He's on Instagram as well, and I just enjoy watching his stories. Really, he's built a little box that you can, with an Arduino controlled knob, pull out. How do you call those? A reflecting dome where there's a light source in the middle and it's putting like fancy lights all over the place.
Kind of like a disco ball. Disco ball.
Yeah, disco ball style, exactly. And it's in a box that has like the closing lid that you normally put on old German bread boxes that has these lamello style. How do you call those?
Like segmented that kind of go around in an arc.
Exactly.
Like
and then you can
tambour type.
Yeah, exactly. And he combined those and he made it mechanically, so he can, with a little Arduino, like control how far the lid is open, and then with another knob pull out this disco ball. And the journey of this was just so enjoyable. He had a ton of problems with the mechanics, and then he made it all in this kind of a box, maybe, yeah. And he figured it all out. It was just fantastic to see him make it work. And yeah, he's just a cool guy that does freakish stuff. He also built on his own, like in a wooden frame. How do you call those? Like these double-sided lockers where you just grab a handle in the middle and then turn it, and that releases two pins on two opposing sides.
Yes. I know you're sort of like a submarine door type.
Submarine door kind of thing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And also so cool. And he's got a, like, under the ceiling, like an attic bed. Do you say that? A high bed? Something where you go up with a ladder.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Like a
loft bed
or something.
Exactly. And he made this as a grabbable handle. Then you unlock it, and then you can pull down on a lever system a little part of the section of the floor. You can put a teacup and then push it back up and lock it so it's up there. Like a teacup elevator.
Almost like a dumbwaiter.
It's so cool. He builds really cool stuff and he makes very enjoyable stories, and I like the guy. He's cool.
Yeah,
he caught my attention.
Cool.
Yeah.
Links for all these things will be in the description of the YouTube video within the next couple of days. That's kind of, at the moment, the location of our show notes.
We can't say shoats just in case we get
copyright infringement.
Verbal abuse from the guys over at Fools of Tools.
Again, yeah.
Jamie. I'll have to do that before I say anything like that, just in case anyone can spot the Fools of Tools.
Well, I have one last thing that I posted before that came to mind with all this parallels between digital stuff that also can be very creative and very interesting to do even without programming knowledge. Maybe look into processing JS and stuff. People do actual art in the normal drawn sense, also by computers. That's very interesting. And there's an essay from a very famous guy in the IT world. His name is Paul Graham. And he's the founder of Hacker News, for example. And he wrote an essay about that's called Hackers and Painters. And he draws some nice lines between the two crafts. Worth a read, definitely.
Yeah, it definitely sounds
cool.
Awesome.
Jamie, your attention.
Yeah, it's been similar to you, it's been a particularly busy week this week. It's been work stuff for me, but I did manage to take a trip up to the northwest of England this weekend just to see some family. So I went to the homeland and saw my dad for a day, and went up and stayed with my mum for a couple of nights, and got to spend some time with my brother and sister-in-law and things as well. But when I went to see my dad, because he's a luthier among other things, I took the completed Hovelin. So we got that all fully assembled and strung and tuned and tested. So it is a fully working, complete 3D printed violin. Which,
nice.
My daughter is quite excited to start playing again, which is going to be cool. So that was fun. But while I was there, it does. My dad was. He's been in the business for best part of 50 years now. Doing guitar repairs and builds and all sorts of stuff. So when I sort of handed in these 3D printed bits and said, "Dad, look, I made a violin. Can you set it up for me?" And it was just completely baffled at this thing in front of him. And then by the end of it, he was like, "I can't believe how good this sounds. It sounds just like a violin." For some bits of plastic. But what I also did in that part of that journey is I took him a 3D printer. So I sort of dragged him into the fold. Yeah, I did pre-warn him. I said, "I'm bringing you your first printer because they do multiply. You'll end up with more. I can almost guarantee it."
It's only one more.
Exactly. N+1. It's Jamie's law, for 3D printers and digital tools and normal tools. And I might have a bit of stuff. But in terms of YouTube stuff, we did see the return of Photonic Induction as a YouTube channel, who is someone I've been following on and off for years. He's a proper Cockney geezer from London, but he's a washing machine repairman by trade. But he's hugely interested in electrical stuff, but big electrical stuff. So he built himself a massive Variac, and I mean, like, it's a massive 3-phase Variac. It's a floor-mounted thing.
So for those who aren't familiar, a Variac is?
It's a variable voltage thing. So as you'd get like a little speed controller on something to just turn the thing down, or like your dimmer on your light switch. This is a big industrial, like with a big aircraft pull lever and things like that. So he can pump. He's got a big, massive 3-phase electrical supply coming into his house that runs this thing, and he does a series of running it till it pops. So he'll get things like a little electric camping stove, and he'll plug that into the into his massive Variac, and then run, instead of like the normal 230 volts at like 10 amps or whatever it normally takes, he'll run it to like 400 volts and like 50 amps until it melts itself.
Oof.
So he does a lot of really, really, really crazy things of, just seeing how stuff explodes, or like, 100,000 watt light bulbs, like big industrial light bulbs, and runs them at silly voltages. And
it sounds like
viral.
Yeah, I want to say it sounds a bit like a hydraulic press channel, but with electricity.
Yeah, it's basically he's been going for years, and he started out, he sort of went a bit viral at one point by having a washing machine running full pelt with the door open, and then threw a brick into it while it was running, and it just absolutely shakes this washing machine completely to bits.
I think I've seen that.
Viral. Yeah, so many people have seen that. And that's where he sort of...
Didn't he put it in a container or something?
He just had it on a pallet.
On a pallet?
He's gone back through a few times and done a few different versions of it. But,
okay.
That's been all over the internet for like the last 10 years or so. But he does lots of really ridiculous explosive type stuff with very, very high voltage and high amperage electricity. So, very fun for nerds.
Subscribed.
Yeah. Right. I think we're about 11:15 UK time, and that means it's about midnight Germany time. Kjell.
Yep.
So I think if we've got no more things that have been grabbing our attention, I think we should certainly thank Kjell. Hopefully you'll come back on at some other time.
Yes, please.
Jamie and I both chat to Kjell quite regularly, so obviously those chats will continue, and hopefully we will look forward to the grand opening of the European Maker Cathedral.
Yes, please. I will probably announce how it looks and what it is and all that stuff once we moved in, like visually on Instagram and maybe YouTube. I do have a friend that has a drone. I think that makes the most sense here. So yeah.
And that's just for the inside.
And that's just for the inside. Yeah.
Right. So thank you for listening. For those that are still in the live chat, and for those that are listening on the audio chat later in the week, all the details for things that we've mentioned, all the links will be in the show notes, which is the description at the moment on the YouTube channel. So if you're listening on this on audio, go to the YouTube channel, Makers Waffle, which we have now surpassed 100 subscribers. Unfortunately, I didn't realise, because on my other accounts, never managed to do it so quickly. You can't get a custom URL until you've had the channel for 28 days. And as we're only, I think, like 14 or 15 in, no, not even 3 weeks, I don't think.
Oh yeah, 3 weekends in.
Yeah, 3 weekends in, not quite 3 weeks. We've got to wait another couple of weeks or so before we can have the custom URL. But big thanks to all those who have subscribed on there and supported us. And if you haven't yet, please do. And thank you for those that have subscribed on the Instagram account, also Makers Waffle. I think we'll Makers Waffle on quite a few places. So thank you for all those that have connected. That's
before we do go though, where would we find Kjell if we wanted to stalk him?
Kjelski.
Very good point.
I'm trying to get Kjelski everywhere. I got that name from playing cards with Russians in school all the time. And I try to get Kjelski everywhere I go. So it's on YouTube and it's on Instagram and
Twitter.
I think it's
Twitter.
a pretty unique handle to have. So
I couldn't get it for TikTok, for example, and a few other places. But anyways, I'm trying to. Maybe I'm just doing Kjelski official or something. I don't know. Thanks everyone for joining in.
Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure, as always.
Right, I think so. I think all that. So how to find this is all in the show notes. So go there to find those things. Next week we have Duncan Band from the Little Hobby Shop on. And so that'll be another good chat. And I can't remember who we've got for the week after. But, we'll let that out next week. Got to keep something under our caps, so to speak. So it's goodbye from me, and
it's goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
And we'll see you all soon.
Bye.
See you guys.